Hey, this is John Ortberg. I'm so glad you are joining me. I want to talk to you about this day, finding contentment in this day. Not by looking at something that's going to be new, some demand for a new thrill, but in what is already familiar to you. Waking and sleeping, the mystery of working and playing and talking and listening, morning and evening. Right now, the morning is really fresh, and just looking at living things, opening up again to God. That's this day. I don't want to miss this day. Before I get into the passage for this day, also, I want to make a quick apology. Recently, on one of these videos, I used the word stupid. And there's parents who don't allow that word with their kids. So sorry about that. One of you needs to invent an app that can be sent to all parents that will automatically bleep out any words that parents don't allow for their kids. Because there's probably lots of words that I'll use. And so if one of you could get on that app and send it to me, I would pay for it. You could probably make a fortune. We're looking at passages to wisdom. This book is called Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis, and here's what he writes. My dear Wormwood, the real trouble about the set your patients living in is that it is merely Christian. They all have individual interests, of course, but the bond remains mere Christianity. What we want, if people become Christians at all, is to keep them in the state of mind I call Christianity and. You know, Christianity and the crisis, Christianity and the new psychology, Christianity and faith healing, Christianity and vegetarianism, Christianity and spelling reform. If they must be Christians, let them at least be Christians with a difference. Substitute for the faith itself some fashion with a Christian coloring. Work on their horror of the same old thing. And that's what I want to invite all of us to do today, is embrace the same old thing. Find God and mystery in the same old thing, because that is this day, but this day has never been before. It will never be again. It is unique. Every moment is that way, but we are tempted to lose it in our horror of the same old thing. Old Uncle Screwtape goes on, the horror of the same old thing is one of the most valuable passions we have produced in the human heart, an endless source of heresies in religion, folly in counsel, infidelity in marriage, and inconstancy in friendship. I must have a new thrill, a new car, a new hairstyle, a new title, a new job, a new promotion, a new spouse, a new income, a new experience. I cannot be content here and now. It will only come there and then. And of course, there and then never comes. Screwtape goes on. This is amazing, profound wisdom that we can live out today. The humans live in time and experience reality successively. 1 second and then another. This amazing mystery of right now. To experience much of it, therefore, they must experience many different things. In other words, they must experience change. And since they need change, the enemy, God, being a hedonist at heart, all joy, all pleasure is designed by God, has made change pleasurable to them, just as he has made eating pleasurably. But since he does not wish them to make change any more than eating an end in itself, he has balanced the love of change in them by a love of permanence. What an amazingly good God is. God did not have to make any of this. He did not have to give us this taste, this love of change and love of stability simultaneously, but he does. He has contrived to gratify both tastes together in the very world he has made by that union of change and permanence which we call rhythm. This is one of God's great gifts to us that I want to cultivate gratitude for. He gives them the seasons, each season different, yet every year the same, so that spring is always felt as a novelty, yet always as the recurrence of an immemorial theme. He gives them in his church a spiritual year. They change from a fast to a feast, from Lent to Easter, Advent into Christmas, but it is the same feast as before. Now, this is Screwtape. This is the diabolical wisdom that will lead us astray from life and God. Now, just as we pick out and exaggerate the pleasure of eating to produce gluttony, so we pick out this natural pleasantness of change and twist it into a demand for absolute novelty. This demand is entirely our workmanship. If we neglect our diabolical duty, people will not only be contented but transported by the mixed novelty and familiarity of snowdrops this January, sunrise this morning, plum pudding, this is written in England in the 40s, this Christmas. Children, until we have taught them better, will be perfectly happy with a seasonal round of games. Our incessant efforts, only by our incessant efforts, is the demand for infinite or unrhythmical change kept up. I remember my pal Mike Bro. Mike, if you're watching this, talks sometimes about how people will become stagnant in their spirits because they live with the same old. Guy wakes up with the same old body, gets out of the same old bed at the same old time, puts on the same old clothes, eats the same old breakfast, gets in the same old car, goes to the same old job, works the same old day, comes home to the same old house, eats the same old dinner, watches the same old TV show, gets into bed, asks his wife the same old question, gets the same old answer, goes to sleep, does it again. And we live with this tremendous fear of the same old thing. But of course, because God has given us the gift of rhythm, this day is not the same old day. This field is not the same old field. It is that miracle of rhythm, of change and yet sameness that our hearts long for. And yet we give that up when we demand constant novelty. Got to have something new because I will think it is through my circumstances, it is through my situation, it is through something coming into me alone that I can acquire soul satisfaction. And the trick is not to have a new life given to me, but to see the same old life through new eyes, through the eyes of gratitude, the eyes of love. Screwtape goes on. This demand for constant novelty, this constant restlessness, this itch that cannot be scratched. This demand is valuable in various ways. In the first place, it diminishes pleasure while increasing desire. The pleasure of novelty is by its very nature more subject than any other to the law of diminishing returns. And continued novelty costs money, so that the desire for it spells avarice or unhappiness or both. And again, the more rapacious this desire, the sooner it must eat up all the innocent sources of pleasure and pass on to those that the enemy forbids. Thus, by inflaming the horror of the same old thing, we have recently made the arts, for example, less danger to us than perhaps they've ever been. Lowbrow and highbrow artists alike being now daily drawn into fresh and still fresh excesses of lasciviousness, unreason, cruelty, and pride. The horror of the same old thing and the demand for novelty, the fear of missing out, is as old as the temptation that struck Adam and Eve in the garden. There is something out there. God cannot be trusted. So we come back to him now. We come back to the vineyard to abide in the vine, and we see the goodness of embracing the same old thing this morning, which is old and yet brand new. How quickly we discard this moment and neglect to see the treasure and beauty in it. I think of visiting my old friend Max when he was about 90 years old, and he said, every night Esther and I tell each other, I love you, because we never know if we will be here in the morning to be able to say it. And now Max is not. And Esther'd give anything in the world to be able to say those words to Max, and how easily we pass them by when the moment comes when we can say them. The same old thing, the blessed same old thing. Nancy, I just got to have dinner with Linda. Linda, if you're watching this, I love you so dearly. Linda and I worked together for many years, and now that season is done and will not be back. And how wonderful it would be to have one more day like that one. But I don't have that day, I have this day. And then tomorrow, if God grants, I will have tomorrow. The same old thing, and yet new, always new, ever new, in the hands of the God who creates and the God who sustains. So today, embrace the same old thing. The same old food, the same old bed, the same old partner, the same old people, the same old job. Look at the same old thing with brand new eyes. With eyes of love. Ask, how much can I appreciate it? How much value can I bring to it? Can I bring to them? Can I bring to this moment? Today, embrace the same old. And I'll see you tomorrow.